right, welcome everyone to the rise of snackable digital experiences for HCP and patient engagement. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here today. We have a lot of great information to cover with you all. One of the things I did want to mention up front is we will be taking questions at the end. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can just click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of Zoom and submit questions in, and then we will we'll answer those at the end. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. So let's jump in with some introductions. So I am Ryan Taft, co-founder and CEO at STORYSOFT. I've actually spent 17 years in the pharmaceutical industry. Most of that time was spent working at digital marketing agencies. And I was always usually on the account side, the innovation side of the house. And the projects that I usually found myself working on, they combined storytelling with data and technology to create unique, immersive customer experiences for brands. And so I'm excited to share some of the things that I've learned along my journey, but also some of the things that we are learning here at STORYSOFT, because I think there's a huge opportunity for brands to leverage what we call snackable digital experiences. And I'm looking forward to taking you through that today. In terms of an agenda, we're going to cover off on why we're here. And then we're going to talk a little bit about brand.com and how that fits into everything. Then we'll move into snackable digital experiences. We'll define that for you all. And then we'll get into the benefits that those experiences can provide for brands. And then ultimately what we want to do is we want to show you an example digital experience, because what I think that will do is it'll take everything that we talk about today during the webinar, and it will bring it to life for you all, actually seeing something in action. And then finally, as I mentioned, we'll jump into some Q&A. So with that, let's get started and talk a little bit about why we're here. And that is because the competition for attention is fierce and it's only amplifying. And so the natural result of that is that both patients and physicians are inundated with messages and ads from pharma. And so the big question becomes, how do you break through the clutter? How can you help your brand stand out and drive growth in this environment? And we believe that brands can break through if we start to think a little bit differently about non-personal promotion. So the goal of the webinar today is to help start you on a path of a new mindset about how you think about NPP, and to help you understand some of the options that are available to you all. For the past 20 years or so, our strategy has pretty much stayed the same. And that is that all NPP tactics drive traffic to brand.com. When I first started my career, it was at a small database marketing company, and we built websites for brands, and we created ads that drove traffic to those websites. And I will tell you that a 21, 22-year-old today who's coming out of school may work for a similar company, because we're doing a lot of those same things. And in a sense, it makes sense, right? Your website is your main digital hub. It's your main digital real estate. And so we're not saying that the website is dead, far from it. But what we are saying is that both HCPs and patients want more from brands. And we are in a position now with some of the advances of technology and things of that nature to provide that to them, especially when it comes to this idea of snackable digital experiences. And so that's what we're going to talk about here today. So let's start with what HCPs and patients want from brands. And what are those things that brand.com cannot easily provide? The first is personalization. HCPs and patients want information that's relevant to them, to their preferences, to their beliefs, and most importantly, to where they're currently at with your brand. We need to be talking differently to a prescriber versus a high-value target. And personalizing the content of brand.com is extremely difficult, if not impossible, with the sheer magnitude of content that lives there. The other thing that folks want is content that's quick to consume. People want you to synthesize your information into bite-sized chunks that are easily digestible. We live in a social media world where people are used to consuming all other content in these bite-sized chunks. That said, they also want you to make it easy for them to go deeper and learn more if they choose to do so. And they want all of this to be effortless. They want friction-free experiences. Audiences want to interact with your content. They want to be engaged, but they want you to serve that content and those engagement opportunities up to them in a way where they don't have to work hard to do so. And so this is where the rise of snackable digital experiences comes in. We define those snackable digital experiences as quick to consume, immersive content that delivers a unique experience. So what are some of the attributes of snackable digital experiences? Well, first off, it's short form content. This is not heavy content. These are guided experiences. You're going to be leading the audience down a path. These can be branded or unbranded. You can do some disease awareness experiences just as well as you do branded experiences. And you can create these experiences for any audience. You can build experiences for HCPs, for patients, nurses, pharmacists. You can even create these experiences for reps to help with training. The best experiences contain interactive elements. Not only that, but they also leverage a mix of different types of content: video, audio, animation, maybe some survey questions, so that people can get engaged and immersed in what you're trying to explain to them. So now that we understand what they are and some of the attributes, where does it fit into our world? And so we talked a little bit about this idea of where we've been doing a lot of the same stuff for a number of years now. We have ads, which is micro content, and we have brand.com, which is all of our digital content, all of our key messages. Ads, you can't really tell a full story. Brand.com, we're telling every story under the sun. Digital experiences fit between the two, where you can tell a full story about a single topic so that we're not trying to stuff too much content into these experiences. And so what's the purpose of these experiences? A lot of times we'll be having conversations with customers and their media partners. And one of the biggest questions that comes up is, well, why should I divert ad spend to drive traffic to these digital experiences versus brand.com? And it's a fair question. And it's because it's been ingrained in us for so long. Entire industries, the entire media industry is built off of driving traffic to brand.com. But if you actually stop and think about it, and think about the purpose of driving that traffic to brand.com and what brand.com is supposed to do for us, it's supposed to build awareness for your product, for your services that you offer. It's supposed to educate folks. And it's also supposed to deliver resources. Digital experiences can accomplish all of those same things. Not only that, but in certain instances, they can do it better because they also provide a number of additional benefits to our brands. They can capture people's attention because they break through the clutter. They're different, they're unique. Not only can they capture that attention, but they can hold that attention as you kind of captivate the audience and engage them throughout the journey. And then ultimately, if you do it really well, you're going to create a memorable experience for that individual. And that's what we're really looking to achieve, right? We want people to remember our brands during those key prescribing moments. And snackable digital experiences can offer that to you. And so the main takeaway of this first section here is that you can do both. Again, we're not saying your website is dead. There is a place for it, but there is also a place to start experimenting with these snackable digital experiences because they can provide a tremendous amount of benefits back to your brand that brand.com simply cannot provide. And that's what we're going to focus on in the back half of this webinar. Is we're going to go through some of those benefits. So benefit number one, it provides snackable content. Attention spans are decreasing. I read a stat the other day that over the last few years, attention spans have gone from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. Brevity matters. And with these snackable digital experiences, you can create a high impact experience because the natural limitations on this short form content allow you to focus on making an impact versus trying to figure out how you can inject yet another message into the experience. They are quick to consume. Your audience will appreciate this because they will be able to go through this content relatively quickly on their own device, on their own time. And then ultimately, they can provide the opportunity for folks to go deeper and learn more about some of your more complex data if they choose to do so. It's a bit of a subtle shift, but super important. If you think about brand.com, we are basically providing everybody with everything that you can offer and having them sift through to figure out what's important. Whereas with digital experiences, we are pulling out the key messages and explaining, having folks go through it so that they can consume the information that's most important. But then through simple link outs, we can put the power into their hands to go deeper and get access to that additional content should they choose to do so. Benefit number two is speed. Quick wins are critical for your brand. And the beautiful thing about digital experiences is they're fast to develop. Again, short form content. And because it's light, it's not heavy, it's not filled with a tremendous number of messages, you can spin these up really fast. Not only that, but many times you can leverage existing assets to build these digital experiences. So, you can use these to amortize your investment on assets you've already created. Maybe you developed a KOL video last year, and you want to take that and you want to cut it up into 15 to 20-second snippets. Then you want to combine it with some imagery from your last campaign. And then you can weave those things together to create a very unique experience, but you can do so with content that's already been approved, which gets us to our next point. These things can get approved really quickly through MedLegal because, again, short form content and because you're leveraging existing assets. So these aren't going to be heavy like a website update. I mean, everybody on this webinar probably knows how long it takes, months, right, to get a website update put through MedLegal. Whereas this could take weeks to get a digital experience put through. And then ultimately, you'll be able to optimize that content much more quickly. So the best digital experiences, the platforms that provide those, provide analytics so that you can understand what's working and what's not. And then you can leverage those insights to optimize that content over time. And the optimizations that you make to these snackable digital experiences are going to cost you less in terms of time and money than if you were to make them to other tactics that we're used to that are a little heavier. Benefit number three, engage and immerse audiences like many other tactics simply cannot. You can create better experiences by combining multiple different types of content together. So let's look at a potential flow of a user going through a digital experience. You want to start with an intriguing hook. You want to capture their attention. So maybe it's a provocative statement or a question that gets their wheels turning. Then maybe you move them into a very short video clip, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. From there, you can ask them to engage. Click on that pop-up, interact with a slider so that they can engage with your content. Maybe you want to lay over some audio where you can play voiceover of some of your key messages or add sound effects to some of your critical content. Do you want to learn more about what your user wants and their preferences? Drop in a survey question, a one-question survey that they can answer very quickly. And then once you've kind of held their attention throughout and you've engaged them, Now plant that call to action to drive that behavior. Drive them to brand.com, get them to sign up for your patient CRM, but you'll be much more successful than you are with other tactics that don't leverage this mix of different types of content. And so these experiences, audience can get in and out 30 seconds, a minute, but they will still find them extremely valuable. Benefit number 4 is a big one, personalization. Personalization at scale is available and possible through these digital experiences. So in our experience, there are really 2 main ways to personalize these snackable digital experiences. The first one is data-driven personalization. So that's where we take data that we already have on a customer, and we use that data to dynamically change the content that that individual sees. For example, perhaps you want to send out an email blast to 5,000 docs. In that email is a link to a digital experience. When Dr. Smith gets her email and she clicks her link, you can open up that experience and provide relevant content to her. Maybe she's already a prescriber and you know that. You can now take her through an experience relevant to prescribers to provide information that's valuable to her. Whereas maybe Dr. Jones clicks through his link and he's a high value target. You can take Dr. Jones through a different experience based on the fact that you know that he is not yet a prescriber and you need to convince him. So we can do some really interesting things these days with personalization based on all that data that you've already collected on your customers. The second way that we can personalize these digital experiences is action-based personalization. And that is the real-time swapping of content based on users' behavior within the experience, right? So think about this as a kind of a choose your own adventure style of experience, where maybe a patient lands in this experience and you have a survey question and it says, are you currently on treatment or are you exploring your options? The patient can select A or B, and based on that selection, you can then have business logic within your experience that takes them down path 1 or path 2, and you can deliver to them content that's relevant to that specific individual and where they're at currently with your brand. Benefit number 5 is linear messaging. Controlling the flow of the message leads to better outcomes. So everybody on this webinar, I'm sure, has done market research for their brand. And we know that if we deliver message A, then B, and then C, that's going to give us our best possible opportunity to motivate the behavior that we desire. And if you think about it, reps have been leveraging linear messaging flows forever, right? A rep comes into a customer's office and they know, I want to take them here, then there, then I'm going to close with X, right? But there's not really been a great way to do that through non-personal until now. If you think about the way a website is architected, when I land in the website, I might click on efficacy and dosing. When somebody else lands in the site, they might go right to safety. As the brand, you can't control the messages that they see or the order in which they see them. With snackable digital experiences, all of that changes, and we can now control that message flow for your non-personal tactics. So what does that look like? Maybe somebody drops into one of these experiences, and the first thing that we do is we kind of set the expectations. We talk to them about the topic of conversation that they're about to experience. Then we set up the problem, and it will be best to set up a problem, as we all know, it's similar to a problem that individual faces. That's how we build empathy with our audience. From there, we can lay out the solution, and we can position our brand, our product as the hero, and start to deliver some of those key messages. And now, once you have their attention and they are engaged, that's when you can plant that call to action to drive that behavior. And because you've architected the message in a way that corresponds to what market research is telling us is most effective, you are going to see better results in terms of the number of folks who actually take action on that CTA. And we've seen this at StorySoft as well. And what this does, this also plays into the analytics, and it provides you with much more actionable analytics, this linear story flow. And so benefit number 6 is that snackable digital experiences provide actionable analytics back to the brand. We all live in a fast-paced world. We're jumping from meeting to meeting to meeting. You know, and I see these decks of 60, 70 pages of analytics that you get monthly, right? And many times we don't even have time to look at them. Analytics have to be fast to interpret and easy to act on. Anybody who is familiar with Google Analytics probably is familiar with this behavior flow report. This shows you the movement of people through your website. As you can see, it looks like spaghetti because, again, everybody's experience is different. We're all clicking through the site in different ways. And so this does not allow you the opportunity to understand what's working and what's not quickly. But what if your reports look like this? This is an example of a report based on a linear digital experience. So along the bottom of the report, you can see all of the pages within that experience: intro, depression, issues. Instantly, you can look at this report and you can see where you're losing the most people. Between the future page and the efficacy page, 12% of your audience is leaving that digital experience. They're dropping off. This allows you right then and there to understand the gaps in the experience. And now it hones you in on the area of that experience that you need to look at in terms of optimization. Maybe you want to look at the messaging or the creative that you're using on that future page to see if you tweak it a little bit, can you get less people dropping out and more people continuing on through the rest of the experience. So these are really, really valuable reports that can be provided. There's a lot of deep engagement metrics that you can get from digital experiences. And when those reports are set up properly, you can look at those insights and be prepared to act on them immediately. So with that, this brings us to the end of the presentation portion of our webinar. I know that that was a lot of information to consume quickly, but what I want to do now is I want to take you through a demo, an example of a digital experience built with the StorySoft digital storytelling platform, because I think what it'll do is it'll take all of this information that we just went through together and it will bring it to life for folks so you can see what we're talking about when we say snackable digital experience. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my presentation, and I'm going to open up one of these examples for us. And again, as we're going through here, if you have any questions, please just go ahead and submit those in. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to refresh. So StorySoft has built a digital storytelling platform, and it allows brands to create immersive digital experiences that tell a story. And the purpose of these stories is to break through the clutter and better engage HCPs and patients. This is just one way to create a digital experience. It's the StorySoft way. But again, this will help you, bring things to life based on what we just spoke about. So a couple of things that I want to call out. This is actually running in a web browser. So our digital stories are hosted on a URL like a microsite. You can see that these experiences are multiple pages. We are on page 1 of 8, and there's a progress bar at the top. So the user always knows where they're at in the experience and how much further they have to go at any given time. You can also see that there's a video on this particular page playing in the background, and there's some text overlaid. You can also notice that this text is personalized to Dr. Smith. So this example is leveraging that data-driven personalization. So we can connect into any backend database. For example, say you're housing your physician level data in Salesforce or Viva. We can connect the StorySoft platform to that and pull through any data that you have on a customer. and we can use that data to dynamically change the content that that individual sees. So using that email blast example, an email goes out to 5,000 docs. Dr. Smith clicks through her link, it says Dr. Smith. Dr. Jones clicks through her link, it says Dr. Jones. A very basic example where we're pulling through the physician's last name. But again, imagine if you knew that Dr. Smith was a prescriber and Dr. Jones was not. We could actually show different content to Dr. Smith throughout this experience on certain pages versus what Dr. Jones sees. So we can do some really, really interesting things with personalization to allow you to create those dynamic experiences. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to swipe through. On our digital experience, it's a swipe to move page by page, very similar to flipping through pages in a book, so that you can see how we bring digital experiences to life and the different functionality that you can leverage in doing so. So we can have audio voiceover in here.
I'm so lost. It's like a constant funk that I'm in. I don't sleep, I can't eat, and I'm unable to focus at work. Things are spiraling.
So kind of creating that emotional hook. Then maybe the physician moves into some prevalence data. She can click the tabs at the top, again, get engaged with the content. You can see that as I'm clicking through these tabs, the content on the page is changing. And then on the back end with our analytics, we can provide back to our brand teams, all of the things that are happening within our platform. We can tell them how far the individual moved through the story, how many pages they went through, what they're clicking on, how much time they're spending on each particular page. So now, as we move to page 4, we've set up the problem early on. Now we're introducing the solution, which is this brand called New Life. There was a little animation that you saw there. And now that we've introduced the brand, you can see that we've introduced our ISI. So one click to expand, one click to contract. Med legal teams really like this because we can stay compliant. Another voiceover.
Dr. Smith, in multiple studies, patients taking New Life 50 milligram tablets once daily saw significantly improved outcomes compared to placebo. Tap the bar chart for each study to reveal more data.
So we know that rep access is declining. Imagine being able to deliver one of these digital experiences to physicians across any marketing channel. They could then consume it on their own device, on their own time. But now we can mimic that rep to HCP interaction with tools like VoiceOver. Just like a rep might call out key data when they're face-to-face with a customer, we can now mimic that in a completely virtual environment using tools like VoiceOver. This is an interactive slide to reveal more information. So as you can see, with our digital experiences, we're using a combination of storytelling techniques and interactivity really to get people immersed in this content. We can have survey questions in here. So this is asking Dr. Smith, where does New Life fit into your treatment of adults with depression? Maybe Dr. Smith's already a prescriber of New Life, so she clicks submit. We've now reached the end of our experience. You can see we're on page 8 of 8. And for us, every digital experience ends with a call to action. Again, short form content, but with a link out to allow that user to continue their journey should they choose to do so. And so this link, maybe that drives them to brand.com where they can download the resource, or maybe it links them directly to the resource, the PDF resource. But it makes sense for Dr. Smith. She just said she was a prescriber. That means she has patients. Let's get her a starter kit. But maybe Dr. Jones is coming through this exact same digital experience. And she's saying, you know what, you've convinced me. I'm going to use New Life with my patients. Perfect. Order samples. Maybe this links out to the brand's sample ordering form. And then maybe Dr. Thomas is coming through and saying, you know what, I'm on the fence. I really need more information. Perfect. Let's get you connected to a rep and get your questions answered. So this is that example of the dynamic action-based personalization that we talked about, where based on a user's action, their input on that survey question, we were able to dynamically change the content on the next page that that individual sees to make it more relevant to the selection that they just made. So for this example, we kind of put it towards the end of the digital experience, which is possible. But you could also put it towards the beginning. And that's where that idea of the choose your own adventure comes in. So imagine if the patient or physician landed on page 1 and they answered the survey question A, B, or C, and then you took them down path 1, 2, or 3 based on that answer choice. So all of that is possible within these digital experiences, and specifically our platform. But you can see how this allows you to deliver a dynamic experience that's full of relevant content to each individual user who comes through that experience. So hopefully this really brings to life for you all what a digital experience is, at least in our world. And hopefully it shows you, some of the information that we were talking about earlier and what that looks like in practice. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump back in to our webinar slides, and we'll start going through questions. So again, if you have any questions, please just go ahead and submit them through the Q&A function, and we will get through as many as we can. All right, hopefully you all can see this. And let's dig into some of the questions here. I will say, I think, based on timing, we should be able to get through the majority of the questions. But if questions hit folks after the webinar, obviously I have my contact information here. Please feel free to shoot me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as possible and answer those questions that you might have. So let's see. First one's an easy one. Will we have access to the presentation? Hard to take notes and pay attention at the same time. Totally understood. We will be presenting. So we're recording this webinar, and we will have a video recording of it post meeting in the next few days. So if you are not currently part of our LinkedIn community, STORYSOFT for Life Sciences is the page name. Go ahead and just follow that page, and we'll be posting the video here, which will show you not only the slides that we've gone through, but also that example. And then if you need more information, or you actually want the slides themselves, again, just ping me via email, and we can make that happen, for you all. So the next question that came in is, how have you managed ISI in this channel? Which is a great question. It did come in early on during our conversation. So hopefully the demo was able to answer that. In our platform for STORYSOFT, I can't speak to other platforms. Obviously, handling ISI in Instagram or TikTok is impossible at this point. But within our platform, as you saw, we have those compliance features built in, right? So we have our little ISI peekover, which is the same thing that is used on your mobile websites. So we've had no issues getting those things approved through MedLegal. We also have buttons at the bottom. I don't know if you noticed it, but it was a link out to full PI, to references, to study design. So we have all of those compliance features built in to our system so that we can make sure that these experiences get approved. Next question is regarding, again, the deck and capabilities and things of that nature. Again, we can, make sure you're following that page on LinkedIn, STORYSOFT for Life Sciences. And then if you have more specific questions, please feel free to just shoot me that email, and we'll get you what you need. And let's see. So great question here in this example, how were customers brought into the funnel, right? How did you drive traffic to that digital experience? So I can speak to what we do at StorySoft. One of the main benefits of our platform is that it's super flexible. I think you saw that it's hosted on a URL, like a microsite. That means that you can share that content across any marketing channel, right? So you can create drivers on any channel to drive traffic to this destination, this microsite, this experience. And it's very simple. So if you're running paid ads, SEM ads, display ads, social media ads, link some of those ads instead of, again, dropping them on brand.com and saying, here, go figure it out, what you're looking for and where it's housed. Drive some of those people so when they click on the ad, they land in this digital experience. You can share it organically on social. Take the URL and post it on your Twitter, on your Facebook. QR codes have been super popular of late, obviously with COVID and things of that nature. You can print QR codes on print pieces, on journal ads, on posters at conferences. People can scan the code and immediately access that digital experience. We also have the ability to embed them into brand.com. So we can embed our digital experiences within an iframe within your website. And therefore you can capitalize on the constant flow of traffic to your website, but you can provide them with a unique experience that they can go through while they're already there without ever leaving your site. So basically it's limitless, at least again, in our world with StorySoft Stories. You can amortize your investment in creating these experiences by driving traffic to them from any marketing channel. So let's get to the next one. Just a couple of additional questions here. And how would you incorporate some of these bite-sized strategies onto social media platforms like LinkedIn, for example? So I think a lot of the same strategies that we went through apply, right? Don't try to do too much. Keep your content short. Leverage different types of content that you're posting. Maybe you're posting a short video clip. Maybe you're using an animated GIF for another post. So you can leverage some of those same strategies. But I will tell you, one of the reasons we created StorySoft is because these platforms are not really optimized for brands and for pharma specifically. They're not built for that. They've adapted them to brands because that's how they make money, right? To sell ads and things of that nature. So what I would recommend, whether you are using the StorySoft platform or another platform, is you create the digital experience outside of social, right? Because then you own it, you own the data that comes to that experience, you have more rich analytics, but then you share it within social to get the eyeballs. I think at least that's the strategy that we advise our customers, because you're getting the best of both worlds. And then you don't have to recreate that content for every social media platform. So say you want to tell a single story, but you're using LinkedIn, you're using Instagram, you're using Twitter for your brand. You have to recreate that story for every one of those social media platforms. Time, money. Whereas if you use this model that we've been talking about today, where you build the experience once and share it everywhere, I think that will help you amortize that investment, also allow you to speed up the time to delivery as well. So let's see here. Another question has come in. Have you worked on any black box products? Yes, we have, and our digital experiences have been approved. We have certain techniques that we leverage for black box as well, but we do work on black box products. All right, so we do have a few minutes left. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. Hopefully these questions are some questions that you've also had. I see that there are some questions coming in through the chat as well, so I'm gonna hop over to that. Somebody is asking how you define immersive. Immersive to me is a combination of kind of rich media and interactivity. It immerses you in the content. It holds your attention. To me, the big thing about immersive, it's all about attention. If you develop something and it's immersive, that means it's sticky. People are staying with it and they are being absorbed within it. Just like a great movie immerses us, right? And all the distractions fade away when we're consuming that content. That's immersive. And we can do that within these digital experiences by leveraging some of the strategies that we talked about. Can these digital experiences be deployed as Facebook or Twitter ads? So they are not the ad themselves. They are the destination that the ad would link to, right? So you create the ad on Facebook or on Twitter, somebody clicks on the ad and opens up this digital experience. Again, at least in our world with our StorySoft digital experiences. Where are stories hosted? We host them. So our digital storytelling platform is all in one. We take care of it all for our customers. We can program the content, help you create the content, or work with your agencies to help create the content. Then we publish that content to a URL that we host. We can enable the brands to host it for themselves if needed, but the majority of our customers allow us to host that content. And then we provide all the analytics. I didn't want this to be a pitch or a demo of StorySoft, so I didn't show you the analytics. If you're interested in that, again, ping me, but we also provide the analytics because we're hosting that, and so it's all built in. Is it possible to geo-target users within a specific location? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We would work with you and your media companies and things like that, again, because we don't really handle the reach side or the destination. But if your drivers are able to deliver that information and that information is geo-tagged, we can then serve up different information to somebody who's on the West Coast versus somebody who's on the East Coast. All of that is possible, at least within our experience. When there's no Wi-Fi or good signal, can these stories be run offline? Yeah, they can work on the LTE and things like that. Obviously, with the release of 5G, this is going to become less and less of an issue for us all. But they can also run offline. There are certain things that we have to do for that. But it is possible based on certain drivers, based on where they're coming in from. We can other questions about ballpark pricing and scope. I mean, again, this is you please ping me on email. I can answer any of those questions for you all, but I want to kind of stick to digital experiences in general for this webinar. So we are right at time, and I think we actually made it through all of the questions. So again, I just really want to thank you all for sticking with us here. I know you're all busy. But hopefully this was informative, and you'll be able to take some things away. Again, if you have any questions about anything that we've covered here today, please feel free to ping me. I'm active on LinkedIn, but you have my mobile number here. You have my email address. And with that, I'll let you all get back to it. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for the time. Bye, everyone.